Okay, let me tell you about my first auditioning experience. My first real auditioning experience, I guess, against a group of other people would be for the musical Brigadoon in junior high school at Dover Junior Senior High School. And I auditioned for the role of Harry Beaton because I could actually do a Scottish accent. And I just went in because I was like, I'll do that. I didn't like the part. I actually wanted the part of Tommy. He's like the lead, handsome guy and whatnot. But the guy they cast was definitely way more handsome than I was. So I was like a gangly, dweeby looking nerdy guy. So I guess it fit the protagonist perfectly. So I mean, I just kind of went in and did the lines in my Scottish brogue and sang the songs that they had chosen for me to sing. Again, I wasn't worried about the singing. I really wasn't worried about the lines. I was more worried about my Scottish accent was going to be crap compared to everybody else's, but it wasn't. And I got the part, and the rest is basically history.
The first time that I auditioned, I was 13. And they were doing this musical called Grease. I'm sure everybody knows that. I heard about that in the radio, and I immediately told my mom, I was like, Mom, I want to be there. Please talk to them or take me there. She was right away like, okay, let's do it. So it was nerve-wracking because I'm very shy. Believe it or not, I am shy. And I was more shy back in the day when I was younger. When someone will ask me, oh, can you sing something? I will be like, I don't know. I would just go blank. So there was a lot of people there. I remember there was the choreographer, the director, the producer of the play, and the music director. So I had to sing, I had to dance, and I had to act a little bit. So I was very young. I didn't have a lot of experience. So, I mean, it was awkward, but I made it. So, which, that's awesome.
My first auditioning experience, I walked into the audition and everyone was not the same race as me, and I just looked around like, am I supposed to be here? I was the only Caucasian person, and I was just so worried. I was like, I don't think we came to the right place. And so we eventually found out that I wasn't supposed to be there, and I actually ended up getting the role, even though I thought I did horrible.
Oh gosh, let me tell you about my first auditioning experience. This was horrible. Horrible. It's for actually a big casting director who's now still a big casting director here, or actually in Austin. And I had the script, and you should memorize your script before you audition. And I didn't have it memorized. Well, I knew some of it, but it wasn't completely memorized. I was familiar with it. And so embarrassing, right? So I had the paper in my hand, and I'm literally reading it, not acting it, like literally reading it. And it was for this commercial, like medicine or something. And so you have to be like talking to a friend. And I'm like, hey, Joan, did you know that this medicine makes you feel really well? And the casting director is like, okay, wait, let's start over. We're going to do another cut. Relax, breathe, and talk to the camera like it's your friend. I'm like, okay, breathe. And I do it the same way. Like I totally ignored direction. Not that I ignored it. I think I was so nervous that I just could not. And so, hey, blah, 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 blah. And yeah. And ever since then, this casting director doesn't call me in. Like after 5 years, every once in a while. But yeah, I totally blew it. But I'm a lot better now.
Well, if we're talking about theater, in junior high school, you showed up to the drama club meetings and you got to be in a play. So not a lot of auditioning involved there, and the memories are pretty fuzzy. So I'm going to take it from my first screen acting gig. Showing that it's never too late to get started, I got my first paid screen acting gig and was on set 2 days after my 50th birthday. And I remember thinking, I don't know if this is ever going to happen for me again, So I'm just going to enjoy it. My wife was allowed to be there. There was a shoot in a business establishment, so she sat out of camera range, took some pictures of me on the set, and she's got a great one in between takes of me just looking up at the lights, and I'm sure at that point I was thinking, this is really cool, and I hope I get to do this again. Well, I worked at it, and I did get to do it again, and again and again. Something to be said for hard work.
My first actual audition experience was with the Lakewood Drama Ministry. Now, before that, for about a year or so, I've been training and studying and just researching as much as I could on the industry by myself. And when I saw the posting in regards to this audition, it was stated as a workshop. I get there, and it's in fact an audition to join the ministry. Anxiety. Major anxiety. I literally had to go to the restroom and take paper towels and dry off the sweat because I was so nervous. But I did that. I had this moment where I prayed, and I just was like, God, if it's your will, then it will. And it was, and I got a call back, and I was super excited. And I auditioned for the callback with a monologue from Fried Green Tomatoes, the scene where Ruth Jameson is talking about Buddy and Frank and how she would break his neck if he ever tried to hurt a child. And once again, I had the same exact experience for the callbacks as I had when I showed up initially and realized it was an audition. And I had to go and dry off sweat, give it to Jesus, and go with it, and go for it. And I remember finishing my monologue, and there were some people that were like, oh my God, that was so good. You almost made me cry. And I was like, really? Thank you. Because it was unbelievable for me. Like, I knew that, once again, this is always something I wanted to do, but to be stepping into that moment and actually doing it, it still took a minute for it to actually, you know, for me to actually get it. Like, this is what you're meant to do. Do it. Just do it. So yeah, that was my first audition experience with the Lakewood Drama Ministry. And since then, my anxiety has improved greatly by just doing it, by just continuing to go and face these challenges that I feel defeated on the inside, and realize that no, it will not defeat me, because no, I'm stronger than what my mind tried to convince me that I cannot do or I'm afraid of. Don't let fear stop you. Do you, boo. Be you. It's already who you are anyway. Just saying.
I think the lack of money, not knowing if you're gonna get the job or not, or when are you gonna get another gig, another opportunity, paying the bills. You know, we don't have a stable job. We don't have like a 9 to 5, and we don't have a check every 15 and every 30 of the month. So that's a little bit stressful. How do I deal with that stress? I guess, you know, I try to be positive. I never stop looking for opportunities, which is really good. You can't be waiting for an agent. You have to do your part as well. So I'm always moving around. I'm always making connections. And just dealing with that is knowing that God is going to provide, because he always does. So
I think the most stressful part of being an actor is that you put yourself out there every single time you audition to a group of people you don't know, and not getting the part, and thinking that you nailed it and you did the best that you could do and you did a phenomenal job, and you don't get the part. That, I think, is the most stressful part, is that you're constantly putting yourself out there and constantly laying yourself bare and constantly willing to basically make an idiot out of yourself for somebody else's vision, and then not getting that part. Now, how I deal with that stress is I understand after many, many years that it's a business, and it's got absolutely nothing to do with me whatsoever. It's got to do with either, you know, maybe I just didn't look the right part, maybe I wasn't tall enough, maybe I wasn't short enough, maybe the person they're casting across from me who did a phenomenal audition as the other character I'm supposed to interact with looked exactly like me, maybe. Who knows? I've seen that happen. I've you know, auditioned for something and saw it come out and went like, yeah, now I know why they didn't cast me, because I look exactly like the antagonist. Or, the love interest that they cast, they're like, she's like 20. I'm 46. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But they change things, and things change all the time. And I think the easiest way to deal with that is to realize that this is a business, and it's not personal. What it is it's somebody with a vision, somebody who wants to bring that to fruition, and making the best choice that they think from what they see and the people that they put together to make that vision become a reality. And again, it's never you. Don't take it personally. Sometimes it's you. I know I've gone into an audition and just bombed it, but I know those ones. I know that I'm like, I was never getting this part. And I think that's the biggest stress. And again, the easiest way to deal with it is realize it's not personal. You do your best at each audition, and you might not get this part, but that casting director might see you later on and go, you know what? I saw them do this, and let's call them in, talk to them, and see if they can pull this part off, because I remember them reading, and they read, and this character just fits them to a T. And that's another way in. So understanding that even though you're putting yourself out there are things that'll come back to you. Whatever you put out comes back. So if you're putting out 100%, something's going to come back. It's going to come back at some point in time. It's never going to be on your time frame. It's just going to be on the universe's time frame.
The most stressful part of being an actress is the audition process. That is so stressful. And the way I handle it is I try to memorize from top to bottom, left to right, up and down the script, so that I'm so completely comfortable with the script, so that if I know the script to a T, that part won't make me nervous. So when I get in front of the casting director, producer, whoever, I know that I have the script memorized, and I can do my very best with that. I still get nervous. When I'm heading to an audition, I do sit there and breathe in the car. I'm like, in, out, in, out. And I try not to drink caffeine before I go to audition, because that also triggers your nerves. But the more that I do an audition, of course, the more practice you get, the better you get. And I'm getting so much better, and I'm thinking that a lot of these auditions that I'm doing, I am getting callbacks, and I am booking, so I must be doing something right.
For me, a lot of actors will say auditioning. I'm actually very lucky in that respect. Maybe it's because of all my years in the theater or the high-profile people I interviewed as an Army broadcast journalist, but I don't get nervous. It's kind of my secret weapon. But there is stress when it comes to waiting to hear back about an audition or a submission. Like Tom Petty said, the waiting is the hardest part. So my solution to that is submit for and audition for as much as you can, because you may end up losing track of what you've put in for. And when you have a lot of different projects to think about when you get one, it's pretty exciting, and you're focused on that, and you don't have to worry as much about the ones you didn't get.
The battlefield of the mind, the nitpicking every single thing until it's completely useless, the overthinking every single thing, allowing fear to creep in, anxieties to creep in, and yeah, and focusing on that. I have to choose and be intentional about focusing on the right things, and that is the opposite of fear, and just resting and trusting in faith, putting the work in, doing the work, and trusting that it's good enough. It's actually not just good enough, it's great. And the battlefield of the mind is so real. So the most stressful part is just having to consciously remind myself that you're not going to overthink this. Having to check myself and like, no, stop. You got this. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are your works, and that my soul knows very well. Your soul knows this. Your spirit knows this. Now mine, I'm going to need you to know this. I'm going to need you to know this. I'm going to need you to get this. I'm going to need you to feel this. And then just do it. So, and that's how I deal with it. I submit it to God, submit my thoughts to God, and trust in His word. Trust in resonating that with my spirit, making sure that's in my spirit. And yeah, do it.
Stress with being an actor, it just comes along with it. I mean, you don't really deal with it. You kind of just get used to it and learn how to just read over the script a million times and, like, be okay. And the most stressful part of being an actor is probably memorizing the script without, like, trying to, like, mess up or before, like, the deadline.
My first acting gig was in high school. I was in The Wizard of Oz, and I was one of the munchkins. I was actually the munchkin that was the corner. So I had to sing that song. I'm not a singer, but I had to sing, as corner I must observe, I thoroughly examine her, and not is she not only dead, but she is truly formally dead. Something like that. And when I was doing that on stage at school, my voice creaked so loud. And I was like, oh my God, I'm dying today. I mean, it was high school. You know, who you are is everything, right? At the time, it's the most dreadful embarrassment ever. But live and learn, right? It was funny.
Tell you about my first acting gig. It was with the Escape Hunt Experience Houston, which is one of the escape game businesses in Midtown Houston. That experience was awesome. It was completely professional. It was, all the actors were so friendly, the directors, the owners of the business, everybody was so welcoming and super professional and just easy to work with. It was awesome. The craft services were on point. I had to remind myself that not to just take full advantage of that because my camera decided it wanted to shut off again. 1 second. Alright, so I had to remind myself that the craft services is like the freshman 15 if you take full advantage of it, because it was all kind of great stuff on at this set. And yeah, I had to have some restraint and not eat a bunch of brownies and lean more towards the healthier items that were in the crafties. So I've been on some awesome sets, but my first experience was a great one. I did learn that in the filming of whether it be commercial, television, film, no matter what the, you know, project is, don't create the vision of what it's gonna, the final product is gonna look like in your head, because they had the camera all in my face, and in my mind I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be the star. Yeah, just wait to see the final product, because I was in that thing. I was in there, but that was my first project, and I booked it a month after I decided to go professional. So for me, just to see myself on screen, I was hyped. I still am hype about that moment. So,
like I told you before, that was my first audition, and that was my first gig as well. I was in the musical Grease when I was 13. And it was super exciting. It was awesome. I was doing everything that I wanted to do, which was dancing, singing, and acting. It was just fun, you know, being able to learn the choreography and being in front of the audience. It was just amazing. It was magical for me.
First acting gig was for a hospital when I was 8, I think, and it was very nerve-wracking because, like I said, in anxiety, you always are scared that you're going to mess up. So I was terrified, especially because I hadn't done it before. So I was like, oh my God, I'm going to die. I'm going to mess up. And I ended up being fine. Again, just sometimes you just got to believe in yourself.
So my first acting thing I ever did was I was actually Joseph in the story of Jesus, the nativity thing, at my parochial school when I was in Catholic school, which I got expelled from. Whole different story. I went out for the part because the girl, Mary Walsh, who was, she was going out for Mary, and she was like the shoo-in for Mary, and I was just so over the moon in love with this girl that I decided, like, I've got to go out for Joseph. So I memorized the lines. I went in, I did a great audition, and I got the part. And I don't even know what Mary Walsh was doing anymore. But I got the part, and I did it, and I memorized all my lines. And it was really funny because I had like a scroll that I could open, and I could have not memorized my lines, but I memorized them all, and everyone else was like looking around for lines, and I'm like going, I'm doing my lines. That's the first acting experience I ever had. The first acting gig that I ever had that I got paid for was a play that was done actually right here in Austin at the Trinity Theater on Trinity Street, the Trinity Players. I didn't get paid a lot, but it was the first time I ever actually did a role and got paid for it, so it was like a huge high. It was great. It was awesome. Loved working with everyone I worked with. And that's the first gig, I guess, I would get. And from there, gigs have rolled in off and on.
Well, I think I did that already, but let me answer the question at this point. My first paid acting gig was 2 days after my 50th birthday. I got lucky. I submitted online, and I got the first thing I submitted for. The shoot was in a hotel lobby. I was playing a desk clerk. And as we were rehearsing the scene, I was being expressive, as I was used to doing in the theater, and the director told me, on film, your facial expressions are going to sing. And I thought, oh, thank you. It wasn't a compliment. He was telling me that I was being too big in my performance, or overacting, if you will. He was able to direct me down to a performance that was more subtle and that worked for the film. I loved every minute of being on that set. Those few hours I just treasured, because I didn't know if I was ever going to have the opportunity again. Well, I did get the opportunity again, but it was another 5 months before I got to be in another short film, and it was a student film. My next film after that was 4 months later. That was a student film as well. And then, as I got more serious about screen acting, taking classes, getting headshots, putting together a professional resume, and auditioning and submitting a lot, more roles started coming. So again, there's something to be said for hard work.
If you're coming into the industry, I think some things that you should know are that if you're going to work hard, you're probably going to succeed. Of course, that comes with lessons and not giving up and definitely trying to work hard. I mean, if you're not going to try, you're not going to get anywhere. So as long as you try and work hard and keep working hard, you should get somewhere.